Good evening and welcome on the spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. Now, the announcement by CAF yesterday that Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya would jointly host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations sparked a string of celebrations in the three mother countries of East Africa. The bid, which will happen after the AFCON in 2025, has also pushed the three countries into a competitive corner to construct much-needed game infrastructure to support what is Africa's biggest sporting event. But will Uganda meet the tough deadlines in a bid and facelift the country in time for the event? Tonight on the spot, we discuss the successful 2027 AFCON bid, and our guests are Ssali and Ismail Dhakaba Kigongo. Ismail Dhakaba Kigongo and Ssali, gentlemen, a warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
You know, Ugandans are so passionate about football. There's an excitement going on, considering that we have just won the three countries of East Africa to host AFCON 2027. First of all, your own reaction, your own perception when the news came in. If I may begin with you, Ismail.
First of all, I was extremely excited. I've had the chance to attend Africa Cup of Nations tournaments, and I thought that Uganda getting into that bracket to host such a tournament was very, very great news. But considering that I spend most of my time in the newsroom, it was also a very, very busy day. The news took the newsroom into overdrive because you have deliverables in terms of the job, to the extent that I spent most of the afternoon driving while speaking on the phone, because I had to coordinate, I had to text certain people, so whenever the car in front of me stopped was a chance to respond to a message or to get some things moving.
Like you never got a ticket?
Luckily I didn't, but it's also because earlier in the day I had been meeting some policemen, so maybe that helped.
Ssali, you know, this is huge, this is big, and this is good for East Africa. But take us through the bidding process first, for those who do not understand. How is it like? How is the bidding process done?
Well, it's the bidding process is about the local FAs. That's the football federations of the different countries. They put together the proposals. And once they put these proposals together, they've got to sell this to government. Government has got to buy in. Largely, that's what happens in most countries. Government has to buy into the idea of hosting. It is tougher in countries like ours where there's not been a prior experience to lean on. You can imagine how easy it is for the FA president in Egypt or in Cameroon. These are the two countries I think which have hosted the most, and Ghana. They've hosted the most, they've won the most. It's easy for them to put together a bid and then tell government, look, we want to host this thing again. I think actually they can moot this before they even put it on paper. So and it will be bought. But here, especially because considering that ours was a joint bid, and the guys at the federation told us this, you know, you had to establish buy-in in three different countries and ensure that you're on the same page.
Okay,
and that is what they did. Yeah.
So Ismail, what does this mean for the region, really? Because apart from the excitement that I see on social media and in the newsroom and wherever I've been, but really, what does it mean?
It's actually very big news because today there are very few things that the world sells more than sport. Even if you sold all the gorillas to the world, they may not bring as many people as sport can. If you can imagine that a small country like Qatar, what's the population? Under 3 million?
Yeah.
Yes. Could use sport as a selling point. It's a very huge thing. And I remember as a reporter, back in 2017, we had just returned from Gabon, where Uganda had played at the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time in 39 years. And the FIFA president, Moses Mago, did call a press conference. And in that press conference, I was a reporter who did the story. He said, we are going to try to host the AFCON. And at the time he said, we'll try to host the AFCON in 2025. Of course, we had gone there with very different questions. And the one thing I felt in that moment was that as the person that Moses Mavogo is, he was trying to create a diversion. because there had been questions about a fight in the Cranes camp over the jerseys after the final game against Mali. There had been reports of some players smuggling a woman into the training camp in Oyem. And I thought when Moses Magogo said that we were going to try to host the AFCON, he was trying to create a diversion. So even after the press conference, I asked him in a one-on-one interview, are you serious? Are you serious? This is what you wanted to tell us. He said, yes, Ismail. Luckily, all of us are still alive. 6 years.
Well, I think Magogo has been a lucky man, because I remember also who you said, you know what, we are taking Uganda to Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
And that was after many years, 40 almost, 1978. The last time we had been there when we had a final with Ghana.
Yeah.
And we are, for many years we thought that was an impossibility. But Magogo said, we're going there. He even set a stage, a deadline. I think we hit it before.
We hit it before, because they had said we would qualify in 2019. So for me, when you want to understand the magnitude, you also have to understand where this started. Because maybe Uganda is the less beautiful sister of this region. The Kenyan economy is bigger. Patrick, you'd have the numbers. Maybe the Tanzanian economy is bigger because they have a seaport.
Yeah.
But the idea actually came from Uganda. It's Uganda that started the push to host the AFCON, and then sold to Kenya and Tanzania. Then they bought in, and then the joint bid comes together.
So, Mark, what are the essentials that are needed really for one country, or a joint bid like this, Pamoja bid, for a country or two or three like ours, that are needed to qualify?
Yeah, the basic ones have, and everybody has been talking about those since the time that Uganda actually confirmed that they were putting in that bid, and up to the time now that we've actually won the rights to. Stadiums, they've got to be CAF certified stadiums that the CAF actually certifies to be able to host continental competition of that magnitude, and they have to be 6 if it's one country that's hosting. Yeah, in our case it is 3 countries, so there's got to be at least 2 per country. But then there's also several other provisions, as we'll discuss in there. So they've got to be stadiums that are CAF certified.
Definitely, yeah.
They've got to be training
of a certain standard.
Of a certain standard, yeah. Training grounds as well, of a certain standard. They've got to be 5-star hotels. They say at a minimum of 2. But ideally, I think ideally you should have more. I mean, when we talk about the practicalities of it,
we're talking about how many teams?
It's 24 now.
Those are 24 countries.
24 countries in AFCON finals. It's grown a lot since I first watched it. It's different, but we'll discuss that as well. Then they've got to be national hospitals. At least one.
They call them level 5.
Level 5, yeah, there's got to be at least one of those level 5 hospitals. And again, Uganda passes that test.
But how do we pass that test, Mark? We don't even have a stadium as we speak.
Yeah, and this is something...
And we need to have 2. We don't even have 1.
Yeah, listen, this is something that actually...
what a gamble Magogo did.
I saw Magogo's... This is something that Magogo was trying to clarify. But I'll tell you this, that... and I'll borrow a bit of his words, but I'll just paraphrase, because that is actually the truth. The truth is that you do not qualify on what you have on ground already, but on what your plans are. And then the trust is in the fact that you actually execute on those plans. Several countries, including the Qatar that he just talked about, win these bids long before they have stadiums in place. And then they go ahead to start constructing the stadiums. The difference between World Cup and AFCON is that you only get to win those rights 4 years prior. That has been the case largely, 4 years prior. So you have less time. Qatar knew that they were going to host the World Cup at least a decade before they did.
Sure.
So that's the difference. But the World Cup is the World Cup. AFCON is a little smaller. But it is on those plans. So when you talk about Uganda qualifying and East Africa as well qualifying, is we... halfway there, largely, because say in Tanzania.
I don't know why you're getting that optimism.
I'll tell you that. Yes. No, let me finish. Let me finish, Patrick. The thing is that we already have a stadium that has always been used for CAF competitions, and that has passed those tests effortless, if you like. That's Nambole. It's been under renovation. That renovation was ongoing.
But I think right now it's not on the list of those. I think it was removed because of the state of the stadium.
Nambole. Yeah. The thing is, but it's been.
But it's also because some of the rules have changed. Because Patrick, you know that the stadium that we have in Nambole is built across Africa. the same stadium, the same design.
Okay.
These are stadiums that were given to Africa by the Chinese back in the 70s. Uganda's, for example, was signed in 1974.
Yeah.
So Uganda to have Nambole, but because of insecurity, it wasn't built until the 90s.
Yeah.
So then
Just like the Benjamin Mkapa in Dar es Salaam, yeah.
Yeah,
Same-
the things
same
have changed because all the things that we struggle with Nambole are things that are of modernity. Media Tribune that accommodates 300 journalists. Stadiums are needed to be all-seater with turnstiles and no physical interaction of people getting into the stadium. They're actually very small.
Yeah, they are.
They are very, very small.
Why is it taking forever for the renovation then, if the changes are just very small?
Now that's where the questions are supposed to go to the right people.
Listen, the thing is, what you have to understand now is that because we have got timelines that Uganda is no longer in control of, there's a totally different mindset to how things are going to be done, both in terms of speed and in terms of resources committed, and in terms of expertise.
I want to pull.
And in terms of
I want to
expertise.
give you an
I'll
example,
tell you,
Max.
yes.
I want to give you an example.
Yeah.
The biggest event we hosted, I think, was the the Commonwealth Heads of the Chogam thing.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure was supposed to be built, just right in the neighborhood here. A school was shifted, called Shimon Demonstration, to build a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
More 16 years down the road, the hotel is not even there. In fact, they started building the northern bypass, thinking it will also help during Chogam. 20 years later, they are still building it, even though it's just a mere 21-kilometer stretch.
Yeah.
So we don't have a good record of really doing big infrastructure development and turning them around.
Anyway. But never mind. The point is made.
Me, I have no... My thing is half full.
This is my response to you, Patrick, on that. In Africa here, and in a lot of, actually in 3/4 of the world, if you could include, for example, Qatar and the Middle East, who are now getting into sport a lot, and Saudi Arabia and all, the most important thing about getting, especially infrastructure projects done, but now I'm talking sport.
And you know that better.
But now I'm talking sport, is goodwill. From the first office down through government structures to the last man. There's got to be a commitment. It cannot be business as usual. You know what I mean by business as usual? Is we say an agency, a government agency or department says, this is our plan for the next 5 years. And then they start to lobby to put some of the items they want in the plan into the budget and hope that they get passed by Ministry of Finance and then also financed by after Parliament has approved them. And then after that, once the money is there for the projects, bidding processes starting, protracted procurement processes, just to get contractors on site for these things before then actually real work is done. There's also negotiations with development partners and money and things like that. All that stuff is protracted and it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of government red tape, there's a lot of bureaucracy. It's natural and it's all across the world. It's not a Ugandan thing. The difference between that and when you have this kind of thing and this commitment is that there's so many of those processes that can be bypassed. I'm speaking now because I've seen it elsewhere. Even next door neighbors, Dhakaba knows about it. We have countries with smaller economies than ours that have said we want a modern ultra stadium and they've built it in 8 months. They've obviously talked to PPDA, their PPDAs and breached those procurement laws and had a direct procurement maybe, or just appointed a contractor. They've skipped the processes of land acquisition. You know the issues we have with land acquisition in this country, for example? Those are processes which, if the orders are actually not to do business as usual.
Yeah, but
they are coming from the first office.
Those countries have a record.
Then it works.
Have a record that they have been able to turn around some things in a record time. But our record is very different. Our record is very different. It makes me.
Are there no things which, when we have wanted to in have been done?
And I sense, Patrick speaks for a lot of the viewers. There's a sense of apathy. And because Ugandans have been let down and disappointed on so many occasions, they don't want to raise their hopes. Many people are trying to manage their emotions. But there's
I'm a totally different mindset.
So you can both lose yourself in the moment. But Patrick, I could also argue that it's not a must that Uganda will have everything ready. But I'm also not advocating for a mediocre tournament. In 2017, I had the chance to travel to Gabon to cover the AFCON. and arrived in a town called Oyem. It's in the northern part of Gabon, right across the border. There is Equatorial Guinea. So we arrived at an airport in Oyem where flights could not land at night, because by the time the AFCON started, the lighting at the airport had not been done. And when we landed at that airport, you could almost sense the tarmac was still fresh.
Yes.
If there was a bit of sun, it would have been maybe, there would have been some kind of reaction on the tarmac. And that stadium in Oyem was built in the middle of a forest. Like, you know, Gabon is 85% of it is covered by forest.
Yes.
And then the other is water. So people live probably on under 10% of the land that is viable, and most of it is not even.
This was a country of about 2-point-something million.
Yeah, exactly. They are 2.5. They are 2.5 million, and I'll tell you,
Gabonese,
the story he's talking,
not even the size of Kampala.
The story he's telling has been quite across. I could tell you tales of when Burkina Faso hosted in 1998, or when Mali hosted in 2002.
Yeah.
These are economies that are smaller than ours, and it had serious challenges. Their cases, actually, where teams slept in dormitories. That is not possible in Uganda, as we are, even before we start the accelerated process of preparation.
1998 is not possible.
Niamliango, prepare your dormitory.
1998 is not possible
For
today.
Egyptians.
It's not possible. It's not possible in Uganda. If I
Salah in Niamliango.
yeah, if you started up the hill at Sheraton and said go down, by the time you get to
But Mac, let me remind you this.
to the roundabout at the golf course,
Yeah.
you've already gone through 7 or 8 hotels that can, just in that space, that can host. That's what I'm saying. It's different. I mean, there's skepticism, and I've seen a lot of
Mac, let
memes.
me tell you this.
I've seen
Because
the memes on
us getting the bid is not enough. Because they are going to do the final inspection around 2026, right?
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
We know what happened when Kenya was supposed to host in 96.
Yeah.
And it went to South Africa.
Yeah.
We know when Zimbabwe was supposed to host.
Yes.
And I think it went to Egypt.
Yeah.
And Botswana and Zambia.
Yeah.
There are many countries, they get a bid just 1 year before. They fail.
Yeah,
and these countries, Kenya is a big economy. Zimbabwe, despite their problems, are 8 years ahead of us in terms of infrastructure. But some of them failed. So we could be celebrating come 2026 January. They're saying Uganda, no.
No, it's good to err on the side of caution there.
But yeah, those examples, you know them even better.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, of course we know all of these examples. Yeah, but then like I said, I prefer to have a different mindset here. And I've told you of, I've just told you 2 of the stories of where these countries pulled this off against the odds. And these are smaller countries like ours. We have got to get the mindset as Ugandans where we actually believe we can do certain things. And that's the mindset actually that Magogo has, which is why he went and announced something which even Dhakaba, his close friend, didn't believe was true. And now it has come to pass. Now listen, that's the mindset we need to get. The Mali and Burkina Faso I've talked about. Those were 20 years ago, maybe that's a long time. But Gabon and Equatorial Guinea hosted in 2012. That's only 10, 11 years ago.
And they hosted again.
Yeah, after they hosted, those are 2 small economies put together, came together and did this tournament. They did it so well that after that, Equatorial Guinea hosted on their own in 2015 and Gabon on their own in 2017 because CAF trusted them to go back.
Okay.
This is where we are supposed to go to be. And rather than us be skeptical, and I've seen the memes, and they've been really funny, they've been hilarious, but I'm beginning to think that maybe there's a few people who actually believe that that's the situation. Rather than be skeptical, rather than be fearful of the task that is ahead, we would rather have the attitude where we push the guys who are supposed to do this work to actually do it. Because it can be done. Listen, it's not rocket science.
Mark and Ismail, gentlemen.
It's not rocket science.
Mark and Ismail, gentlemen, hold on your points because we're going to take a break on the spot. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Ismail, Dhakaba, Kigongo, and Ssali. And we're discussing Uganda's bid, which has gone through, not Uganda, Pamoja bid. That is for Uganda, Kenya, and East Africa. Africa's biggest footballing event is coming home, and that's a good thing. But let me know from you, gentlemen, because we are bidding against the giants. People who can actually say we have AFCON tomorrow and they will have it played without any problem, Egypt, Algeria, and countries like this. What was so unique about Pamoja bid that beat those giants, any of you?
Maybe I'll first help Patrick
first,
by saying that one of the things that happened is that Algeria pulled out at the 11th hour. because they had bid to host both the 2025 and 2027 AFCON. Eventually, the 2027 AFCON went to Morocco, but you'd understand the geopolitical situation between Morocco and 25.
Okay.
The geopolitical situation between Algeria and Morocco. It's been so bad that even planes cannot land in either country, and football has been affected. When Algeria hosted the African Nations Championship, the Moroccan team refused to travel there because they wanted to travel with Royal Air Casablanca, and they were told they could fly in with any other plane, but not their national carrier. So that saved a bit.
Though they helped when there was an earthquake in Morocco. So
exactly. So they can get back somehow. France has tried to make them sit together to have some kind of dialogue. But the thing that makes the Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania bid unique, first of all, the three countries have never hosted. Patrice Motsepe, the CAF president, has gone around the continent talking about how we need to make the AFCON an African tournament, because clearly, and he said that there are about only 6 countries in Africa that can host the AFCON. So if CAF wanted to just host in the 6, they would keep taking the tournament to Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, Ghana, and Mark mentioned Algeria. There are about 6 of them. So the aim, and this is something that was first mooted, for example, by the former FIFA president, Sepp Blatter, as early as 1998, when he said, because the World Cup needs to become a global tournament, we are going to take it across the world. That's how Asia got to host in 2002. That's how South Africa got to host an AFCON tournament. That's how eventually, that's how we got Qatar. And that's how the tournament's going to go to places like Mexico and Canada.
And it's been to Brazil and Russia.
It's been to Brazil and Russia, because you have to make it, if it's going to represent the World Cup, then it has to go everywhere. Now, if it's going to be an African tournament, everyone has got to be included. This is the region that has been starved the most of sharing on the benefits of having an Africa Cup of Nations. I don't know whether, Patrick, there's anything new or unique about having a tournament in South Africa.
Or Egypt.
Or Egypt. Yeah. I don't know what's unique about that. But I'd almost argue that Uganda has the most vibrant nightlife. And this I don't speak because I come out of Ugweri and walk into Kampala. It's because I've had the opportunity to share the nightlife in places that are beyond our borders.
That's very true. That's very true.
And I could argue that everyone would love to have a party.
This is happening in capital of Africa.
In Uganda. So there are things that are unique.
No wonder when Nyege Nyege is here, Africa takes a pause to listen.
Exactly. And you know, there are people who want to look at the Africa Cup of Nations as a football showpiece. But all of us on this set would know that it's actually not the football. The things that will attract people to come to the Africa Cup of Nations, the list of them will be the 90 minutes. It will be everything else before and after the 90 minutes. The things that you're able to go and see and do on days when you're not in the stadium. And that's what we should be selling. Because if you're selling Nigeria to host an AFCON, it's very easy to tell people that come to the land of JJ Okocha. The world will understand that. And I would love a situation where when Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania are selling the AFCON, we're not talking about the football, because even our biggest stars, the Victor Wanyama, the Dennis Onyango, the Mbwana Samatas, will not be people who everyone else can relate with the same way. They can relate with Salah, they can relate with Sadio Mane. We've got to find something unique. And for me, I find the ability of people to party in this place as one of our biggest selling points for the Africa Cup of Nations.
Mark, okay, now, isn't it sad that the biggest event of soccer coming to Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, that perhaps we are not even trying to showcase our footballing prowess, but we want to show other things as well. And by the way, when it comes to football, in East Africa, we are doing so bad. We have the Dennis Wanyama and all those, that's finished, and he's telling you these names are actually not even so much known. What is wrong? Why do we have to go to Nambole when Express is playing maybe URA, and those guys will score goals and celebrate themselves and they'll be alone in those stands? What happened to us? Where is the passion for football in Kampala?
Listen, we've had issues in the past years, and when it says that, when it says we don't have stars to refer to, there's a few guys across the continent who remember who Philip Omondi or Majid Musisi were. Those were
even Onyango,
the likes of Dhakaba and Ssali, really.
Those were very, very big boys. The people in Ghana in '78 were naming their kids after Omondi, a Ugandan name, if you like. And Majid Musisi has been, was a household name everywhere. And yes, Dennis Onyango is up to today. So yeah, we do have those. The thing though is that ultimately, the football passion is always there with the people.
You and I have just been watching a football game.
A Ugandan one, yeah, because
and the games were. I saw you very.
I'm an Express fan,
very
so
happy to see Express.
Yeah.
But then I looked at the stadium; it's largely empty. Mark, why?
No,
and should such a game happen when Arsenal is playing Man United, it will be totally empty.
Not the Africa Cup of Nations.
No, but
not the Africa
you have
Cup
to
of
build
Nations.
on a local passion for you to be able to.
Yeah.
So there is a problem.
Yeah, we had a big period in our football history where we hit hard times, very, very hard times, and I say that mildly. I mean, for the lack of better words, to be honest. So we came from up there to the bottom, and so there's a rebuild that is necessary and a rebuild that's going on. That is going on. The thing though is that do not think that the passion has gone away. Dhakaba here knows. I'll give that example. Dhakaba here knows what happened last season when Villa looked like they might win the title. People showed up from places we didn't know they still existed. When they thought that Villa might win the title again after 2004, which is the last time they had, and they've won the most in our country. And I'm talking 2022. Now, listen, that passion just needs to be reignited by the right things. While there's work to do domestically, and like I told you, I have a different mindset from what many people and their skepticism. I choose to see that we have got opportunities that can trigger things, and that we need to use them well. Listen, this is an opportunity that we need to use very, very well. Ugandans, of course, Ugandans will still support the Uganda Cranes, and we've got 4 years in which to build a team that can actually compete and look good and try and even win the title, never mind compete.
Don't even have a coach now.
No, listen. First of all, you have to understand is that, well, and I need for the young generation to understand this, because maybe some don't, and some will take these things for granted. We have been to the Nations Cup 7 times. That's the most in East Africa, because Kenya have been there 6 times and Tanzania only 2, in 1980 and this recent 2019. Yeah. So we've been there 7 times, and Kenya have been there 6 times. They've never got out of the groups, but we have reached a final. And even in a recent one, when we looked like we're not as good as we used to be, we still came out of a group in 2019, didn't we? Having gone back in 2017 first time and only scored 1 goal. This time we've managed to even get out of the group and get into the knockout phases. We have 4 years in which to build a team again, because now we are in a transition, which with, coupled with a few other challenges, ensured that we didn't qualify for this one. He knows those challenges. I won't go into them. But we have a base of young players on which to build. And we can build a good team, a winning team, a team that can attract Ugandans. But it's not the only thing that's going to take them to those stadiums or to fill them. Ugandans now have access to European football on TV every 3 days. They watch it on Saturday and on Wednesday and on Saturday again, and maybe Sunday and Tuesday or Thursday. And there's a spell of African stars that are also an attraction. Listen, maybe Mo Salah and Sadio Mane will not make it in 4 years. They will not still be playing for them.
I hope they do.
I hope one of them at least.
Yeah.
But I
There will
doubt
still be some
I doubt
iconic player.
I doubt that they will. But
They are disciplined enough to get there, because and I've had that debate earlier today when someone talk about Mo Salah. He's 31 now, but this is a guy, he has no alcohol, he has no nothing like that.
Yeah, he has
takes very good care of his health.
Yeah.
I've already seen his wife at games, so clearly
He's got a better chance than Mane.
What is about seeing the way for the
Well, that means that might not be too many. Listen, he's got a better chance than Mane under those circumstances, because he's still even competing in a very competitive one, while Mane has gone to earn his pension. The thing though is that there's a new spell of stars. I mean, guys were just watching Bissouma play the other day and he's Malian, and play for Tottenham Hotspur in a game which every African, trust me, watched, because Arsenal was on the other side. And there was Mata Sarr for Senegal. We have that kind of crop. And within 4 years, there will be new stars to talk of, because I think at the last tournament, Victor Osimhen wasn't, for example, a big factor. Now he is for the next one.
So I want to go back on the issue of passion.
So football,
what can we learn, Mark and Ismail, from, because I've seen some areas in Uganda where you see real passion. If you watch a big car game, you see passion. Nambole will be full. If you see a Masaza, it will be full.
Yeah.
But also, you know, even our local league, if Onduparaka comes from Arua to here, back in the day, even guys would ride borders from Onduparaka. Even, by the way, even where I come from, Toro United, there's a lot of passion.
Small towns now. That's why I was telling you, the
small
passion
towns
is not
like
there. It's not
small
there.
towns like Kidudi and Mubende. They love football.
But that's why I was saying the passion is not dead.
How do we build on that? How do we build on that?
The one thing that perhaps affects Ugandan football largely, and you talk about the passion, is that these clubs do not have an identity that even by sitting here and I hear a team called Bugweri FC, I instantly become a fan. Because I imagine that's what happens in the West. When you hear Newcastle and you're born there, that attachment is instant, and that happens when it's Chadondo or Busiro, or in my case, who supports Budu or Gomba or Maokota.
Oh, you support Budu?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So you jump in because of identity. That's the one thing we haven't done. But also,
if it is not Toro United, I'm on Team Onduparaka.
Exactly. and sometimes I've argued that one of the things that we aren't doing well, we are doing so many other things, and this is where FOFA have a big challenge, is that we've also got to improve the quality of the football on the pitch. Because we can do all the other things. Today, the Ugandan game, for all its challenges, has a lot of sponsors. For example, you could argue that 10 of the 16 clubs have consistent corporate companies that are sinking money into the game, including a television broadcaster. But the one thing that will not attract many people is that what we are seeing in the four lines is not very beautiful. So we need to apply some cosmetics on that football that is happening, and for me it goes back to maybe player development. You need to train better coaches and deliver the kind of product that is going to attract even the guy who is a casual viewer. Okay. There is Ismail, who is an extremist, a sports extremist. He'll come whether the football is bad or good or there is no football. But then there's a guy who is the casual guy. When I watch television every time, I do not think all the fans in that stadium know anything about the game, or most of them can interpret what is happening, but they come around for the game. And if you've had the chance to attend some of these global events, I was at the Rugby World Cup last year in South Africa, and I could argue 95% of people came to the stadium had nothing to do with the rugby. But they came because of the concert.
This is where I come in on this issue. And because Ismail knows this view I've had for the last 10, 15, 20 years about a national philosophy to define who we are. It is tough for people to identify with the teams, our teams, the way they are, because they do not have the cultural, ethnic basis that he's talking about as one that attaches people quickly, the one we've referred to in Masaza, or when he talks about Newcastle, for example. But here is the opportunity that I'm talking about. Over the next 4 years, when you're building the Cranes team to compete at this AFCON we are going to host, it's not a team, it's a project.
Yes.
One of the things we've got to do, because we've got now, and this is the blueprint FUFA has got to produce, we've got to have short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals of a project. The short-term is to build the national team, the Cranes, but we have got to define a philosophy. We have got to go back, and Dhakaba knows I've argued this a lot. We have got to go back and say, look, this is how we want to play. This is how we want to be identified as Uganda, because when you turn on the TV and you're a football fan, and there's a team you're not sure of, and it's in Africans playing, you can say that is Zambia.
You're stale.
That is Ivory Coast. There are certain teams play a certain way, and we know how they do. Dhakaba knows what I'm talking about under the circumstances. We have got to define who we are, who we want to be. But I'm also saying, going ahead and saying, let's not just define who we want to be. Let's choose deliberately to be the team in Uganda that is talked about as the one that plays beautiful football, that plays attacking football, that scores lots of goals. Because when German football was sinking and the Bundesliga was sinking, they went back and ripped up, tore apart the old script for which they used to sell.
They didn't tear it apart.
No, listen, I'll just finish it quickly. Yeah, they need to tear it again now. Yeah, they've got a few issues. Yeah, but it was very successful, which is why the Bundesliga every weekend produces more goals than any other league. The top 5 leagues. It was deliberate. It's not an accident. We need to go back and say, look, for you to be a footballer in Uganda, you've got to have a good first touch. You've got to have the ability to control the ball. You've got to have the ability to pass it, short or long. You've got to have the ability to take on and beat men. We are going to create chances. We are going to score. The reason why we've not been going to most of the Nations Cups that we're having is because we couldn't score for dear life. He knows that. We're bad at that. Now listen, when you define that, that's what we want, then the message is the same that is taken to our academies, to our schools, to our communities, to our clubs and their junior teams, to our lower leagues, to the Super League, to the Uganda Premier League, and to the national team. One message, we play this way. The coaches coach that way. The guys who are groom them that way. And the guys who make it to the national team are of a certain caliber because we have defined that philosophy. We need to. And this AFCON has given us the opportunity. If we didn't do this before, now we can do this. That is one. The second one, when it talks about player development, there are other things that we have not been doing that we need to, because we've talked about the football, but about off the pitch. How do we eat? How do we sleep? How do we behave? How do we handle the media? How do we handle money? How do we, the things that we need to teach our sportsmen, not only footballers, from an early age. We have, when you get an opportunity like this, like in African culture, when a visitor is coming, when you have a big visitor coming, and you clean up, and even
there's always a clean coat, a new coat of paint.
Even the kid who is the most spoiled among them is asked to pick up a broom. Yeah, this is what I'm saying we are going to do. That we need to do. We need to go out there and get everybody singing the same song about Ugandan football and who we are and what we want to be.
Okay.
And that's a long-term project.
I can see you're eternal optimist.
Yeah. No,
even amidst this
I can't be otherwise.
City like Kampala.
Listen, I can't be otherwise. I choose not to be. If I didn't, I wouldn't be alive 50 years later. If I chose not to be an optimist, I wouldn't be. You know why? When you go downtown,
I find skepticism laughable. When I go in our city, Kampala, it's just chaos. Yeah. It's chaos. It's chaotic. It's chaotic.
But Patrick, sometimes
actually it is actually anarchy.
Yeah, the anarchy you say.
You see how people drive and whatever, the potholes, you know, the disregard of traffic rules, everybody having a siren, you know, the borders that are everywhere.
Patrick, I'm very sure.
Anarchy.
I'm very sure.
I don't know how we're going to turn it around.
I'm very sure.
And then make a charm offensive to the world and Africa. Say, here we are.
Maybe the attraction is in the chaos. No. We can't say some chaos. But Patrick, I also understand. Yeah. But Patrick, I also understand you're well-traveled. You'd argue that our chaos, which seems to have a plan because we survived through it, is not unique. It's not only happening here. Maybe it's happening in places like Lagos.
Like I'll tell you,
people have been to Benin.
With all due respect, yeah, I've done West Africa. You've done West Africa. A lot of West Africa for sport and other reasons. Yeah. And what?
Welcome to Kampala.
What passes in place? Yeah, because the thing is, and like Dhakaba, I agree. It's not to pass off mediocrity. Yeah. It's not to accept bad things, but it is to realize that one, you're not the worst that there is. That's one. Two, and that you can do something about it. For me, that's more important. That the things we can do something about. Sometimes we go on in a comfort, we get into a comfort zone and live the way we are. Okay. So rather than have your pothole healed, the one outside your gate when you're leaving the house, you learn to drive around it and things like that. Then an opportunity comes where they're saying that Patrick Kamara, your daughter is bringing a man. Yeah. And you can no longer drive around that pothole. We are going to feel it, and you're going to feel it to go beyond that kwanjula kuhinjira. Yes. To live in a better road even after. Yeah, so the AFCON has presented
talk about the benefits now.
The AFCON has presented us with an opportunity to do things, to change the way we do things, and to do them well, not only until 2027, but to survive 2027. This is my mindset.
Yeah,
this is the mindset I'd like the rest of the country to have.
I'll give you an example that when we were preparing for Chogam, there are things we set up to do and we never did, including building a 5-star hotel just in the neighborhood here. They shifted a school called Shimon Demonstration Primary School. Yeah. The 5-star hotel is not there. There's something else. It's not a 5-star hotel. Yeah. They say they're going to build, including the Northern Bypass.
Let me tell you one thing.
In your other life, apart from sports,
let me tell you one thing. Do you know?
For 20 years, they are building a 21-kilometer stretch. Even right now, they are still working.
Do you know that the elite in this country have those records, and they know them, and they are mad about them. There are people in Uganda who are struggling to survive, and a very big population, who no longer even remember some of those things because they're living day to day, and the challenges of today is what they want. But let it be sport. There's no unifying factor anywhere in the world like sport.
Gentlemen,
there's nothing for which an entire country will hold you accountable, Patrick, more than sport.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on to your points because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to ask, can Uganda make it big? Because we seem to be the kings of Sekafa, for example, and we've been doing well when it comes to home matches, and I'm sure we shall be playing all our home games here in Nambole. Can we now take it this time around? We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On The Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guests tonight are Ssali and Ismail Dhakaba Kigongo. These two gentlemen, all of them are journalists, by the way, and even though Ssali decided to do other things as well, but still, his passion
Once a journalist, always a journalist. Yeah. It's
some of the best sports journalists in town. And we're discussing Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania's win to host the AFCON 2027. Pamoja bid won everybody else, and football, the biggest Africa's football event, is coming home. Now, we have always, let me not even give the example of Sekafa. Let me get into the murky waters of politics, because the event is happening just after the general elections. Mark and Ismail, you know really what we go through during a general election, the violence, the days, the tear gas and all this kind of stuff. I don't know how it's going to be, because every time President Museveni offers himself to seek a mandate, it is always getting harder and harder. And I'm imagining 2026 is going to be even probably harder than 2021. So that alone may take away the charm of Uganda. Your take?
My take is this, and I've said it again, I'll say it again. It sounds cliche, but it's actually very true because I've lived with it. There's nothing that unifies as much as sport. When our successful bid was announced, one of the first people to be quoted as welcoming it and jubilating was actually the opposition leader in Tanzania. I think you saw that.
Yeah. Tindo Lissu.
Yeah, he was one of the first people to go on record as celebrating this. If you're coming out of an election where we usually have, well, politics divides, as you know. Politics divides and sometimes divides bitterly. So we have a history of that. What better way to heal than to actually have that? Because that's the one thing for which people...
My worry is that...
People who might have been slapping each other.
We're supposed to prepare for AFCON, and as we prepare, we are also tearing each other.
Listen, I think long...
politics.
I think long before then, certain things should have been put in place. And me personally, I don't love politics that much. For me, sport took me so much that I don't pay too much attention to politics. That's one. But also,
Mark, I do.
I don't discuss. Yeah, you do. I know you. I know you. And I don't discuss it that much.
And I'm sure he's going back to Bugweri. You know, and I don't smell it's coming.
And I don't discuss it much. But I'll tell you. That that for me again, I see that as a plus. I have chosen to have this mindset where I'm looking on the bright side, where I'm seeing the opportunities that we have, and even now, with the current government, I am seeing that there's an opportunity actually to build capital towards that election by getting this right.
Okay.
See what I mean? You see, do you understand? I can break it down, but we don't have to.
The three of us, at least, is more political than we are.
Yeah.
The rest of us are apolitical.
This man's too.
The rest of us are apolitical.
But I respect the fact that
he
the
has
man
tested the
offers himself
waters,
for service.
and once you test it, you keep going. I will not be surprised if he goes back to negotiate with the people of Bugweri. But you know, when that affects us, considering that our politics sometimes can be messy.
I was really hoping actually to come to On The Spot one day to talk about what happens in Parliament. And tell you about what happened in the Parliamentary Commission. That opportunity hasn't come yet. But what you state, Patrick, is very important. For one simple reason for me, first of all, it starts with the finances. Normally when the Electoral Commission just releases the budget to conduct an election, which I saw the last time, I think it's touched ₦1 trillion to conduct the next election, the next thing government is saying we do not have the money. And normally, what Electoral Commission seeks is to have that expenditure phased in the years leading up to the election. And it's impossible that they'll get all the money they need. And now when government is struggling to fund that, then you have to throw the burden, which will cost more than ₦3 trillion over the next 27 months to be exact, to deliver an AFCON. That is going to be very difficult. And then, like you mentioned, the divisions. However, the one thing that NUP, FDC, NRM, DP, UPC, if they are still opposition, the one thing they will not fight is an AFCON. I don't think that even when they have debates about the procurement process, about the viability of the stadium, about the cost, they will be questioning the cost, not why the stadium is there. Because there are cases where they are questioning the government's wisdom of putting infrastructure in certain areas of the country or not. Now here we can have a debate about the cost. Why are we building a stadium of $140 million when we could build it for $90 million?
You know, there are countries that spent $800 million to stage AFCON.
Yeah, listen, yeah, but
because that's what Cameroon have
800
done.
million.
yeah.
Oh my God.
The benefits are immense though.
That's almost
And,
a billion. That's all close to $1 billion.
But let me just add to
Okay,
what Patrick is saying.
get in there, but
the $880 million that you said that Cameroon used to host the last AFCON is that reports, I've seen a World Bank report and I've been doing a lot of reading over the past 2 days just to get these figures right, that over that 1 month, Cameroon made back $35 million in that 1 month of hosting the AFCON. And the benefits do not stop there because they put up new rail lines, the stadiums have not gone to waste, because sometimes the struggle is with the legacy. When we go and build a stadium like Africa did in Oyem in Gabon, that stadium in the middle of a forest, at least I've seen what has happened to it, or some of the stadiums used for the World Cup in 2014. But some of the benefits you're not going to reap. If you're investing $800 million, nowhere in the world are you going to reap it in a month. Okay. But you've got to have an eagle's eye and think about it, that this is not going to, everything not going to return today. You can reclaim a part. If you spent 800 million, maybe this economy will make $50 million.
That's a bigger budget than what Mark needs for the road.
I'm no longer there. I'm no longer there. But listen, one of the worries you have about election year and all, the thing is that as far as AFCON is concerned, the preparations for that, including budgeting processes and commitment of finance, of resources, are supposed to happen way before that. So I want to allay those fears, because actually I was speaking with my chairman before coming here, and the meetings to start actually to put the roadmap together are starting next week.
You see the numbers, I put the numbers at the stadium. We need 2 stadia of 40,000 capacity and another one of 20,000 capacity or 15,000 capacity. I think that's what my producer is trying to remind me. But let me tell you, I understand there are people online on phone who want to engage you.
Yeah,
and since we are discussing also for their benefit as well, I think it is important to engage them. Let me open the lines. I have a call online. Hello. I have a call online. Hello. Okay, you can try again. When we have you ready, we shall be able to give you the opportunity to express yourself tonight. I have a caller. Hello.
Hello, this is Richard. This is Richard calling from Namugongo.
Namugongo, Richard, go right ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you for the focusing on sports. Just in my speech to Dhakaba, can we really develop our football and footballers? Because all the sports we are talking about, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we had stadiums, playgrounds, across all countries, where talent would come out naturally. But now all playgrounds, there is no any playground you can find anywhere, even if you go up country. So I would talk about natural talent coming up, yet we do not have really stadium where a person can come from home, from the different slums and develop their natural talent.
You have made your point. You have made your point. Thank you so much. Mark and Ismail will be able to respond to you. Let me try to take another caller online. And I have another caller. Hello. Hello.
Let me try to.
Okay, I'm dropping that call. Yes, hello?
Yes. How are you?
I request you, if you are calling, you turn down the volume so that doesn't send an echo into the studio. If you don't turn down the volume of your TV.
My name is Alan from Gayaza.
Alan Gayaza, go right ahead.
Actually, my biggest worry when I saw the super president was jubilate. I don't think this is the office as the president.
Thank you very much. You made your point, sir. You've made your point. Thank you so much. I'm trying to take another caller. I think that makes the two of us here. I think I'm thinking like you. But I'm thinking like you because I want the government and everybody else to prove me wrong so that we can be better. Because we deserve better. Hello? I have a caller line. Hello.
This is Walusimbi David calling from Luwelo.
Walusimbi, you're on air. You're loud and clear. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, my biggest worry is the negativity in the heads of Ugandans. I've just seen Marema is writing a document to CAF, and I think most Ugandans are like that. I can give an example of Dennis Bosa of Omomori. Year in, year out, he's negative about anything Ugandan football. I think it's so sad right now that Pamoja is through. Thank you. The negativity is too much.
Thank you, our caller from Luwero. You know, sometimes people do these kind of things. They may sound very negative. It's not that because they don't want Uganda. I think it's because they love their country more. And they want better. So they are pushing us. Yes, we have a call online. Hello.
Yes, good evening. Kamara, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name, sir?
I'm called Nyombi Richard now.
Yes, Nyombi.
Unfortunately, I think that Uganda will either pull out at the last time, because 4 years is sincerely a very... The Kampala flyover project, it has taken 4 years and still counting. Northern Bypass has taken 20 years and still counting. Shall we have the needed facility, for example, the stadiums or the other infrastructure in only 4 years? I don't think that it's possible.
I can imagine Walusimbi in Luwero, who just called before you, is not very happy with you. He's not very happy with you, or even me. But you have given examples and a precedent, so there is a background why you are making that kind of comment. Thank you so much, Mr. Nyombi. Let me take two more, then I'll have Ismail and Mac conclude this. Hello. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from. I'm calling from Lira.
From Lira.
I'm saying that people should remove that negativity. They should remove that negativity. Because for sure, this is an opportunity for Uganda. This is Johnson from Lira. This is an opportunity for Ugandans for the Ugandans and the government to put together the materials, and we develop Uganda in terms of sports.
Okay, thank you so much. Johnson,
even the government will support us, and we shall reach very far. That's the possibility I have.
Thank you so much, Johnson Lira Omera Apoymatek. But you should know one thing, that if you're lucky, maybe football will come to Lira itself. The event is likely to come to Lira. There is a possibility. you are also bidding with Hoima and Fort Porto, by the way. We have another call online.
It's not bidding, but anyway.
The local bidding now. Yes, we have a caller.
This is Mawanda from Masaka.
Mawanda, you are loud and clear. Go right ahead, sir.
I'm happy to go through, and my comment would be about the funding, where I was requesting that if it is possible that mainly this goes to Patrick, that maybe this show on any other day we can even put a politician, because these people, in most cases, do a lot in this. We talk about the funding, and all of a sudden this funding is not streamlined. But if we would streamline our funding, this thing is also possible, because like Mark has put it, there are very many countries that are even worse than us, but they manage to stage it.
Okay.
So I think it is possible.
Did you want me to throw in a politician in here? But these guys are phenomenal.
No, but yes, they are phenomenal, but you know, these things are possible with also the politician.
Yeah, okay.
I represent the politician.
No, but listen, there's 4 years of this.
You want to be honorable. But you know, where in my village, sometimes when they want to say honorable, those ones who sometimes it sound like horrible. I'm telling you.
Patrick, you're one of those negative people that have been talking about. But anyway,
Patrick, you're one of the few people who has hosted the President Museveni on the show.
Like twice.
Yeah,
President Museveni, President Kagame.
Yeah, before. And actually, when the last caller talks about the politicians, actually for me, you would rather host President Museveni here, because hosting an AFCON, make no mistake, has nothing to do with the Speaker of Parliament or an MP or a Minister of Finance. It's entirely on the President's head. Anywhere where these tournaments are hosted, it's about the President.
I said that somewhere.
Exactly. So maybe the best person, maybe you should send a request and have the President come to the show.
It is coming after he's hosting the non-allied movement coming to Kampala. 77 heads of state will be in Kampala.
Which is why I was saying that you have got to draw to see the difference between when we do business as usual, which has protracted project development, which takes the years people are citing and everything, and then business as unusual, where timelines are not dictated by us, but by a tournament, where the commitment of everybody from the presidency through the political and technical people down to the last man is different. it is very difficult for you to refer to the construction of a stadium now or a road to help the AFCON and all in the same line as the others we've been doing, when the timelines were ours, when we could go through protracted procurement processes where there were admin reviews and everything. You don't expect that kind of thing to happen.
Where we take a loan and we are paying interest without utilizing
Honestly,
the loan.
you don't. That's not what. That's not what happens here. Like I told you, that commitment has already been shown. The roadmap starts to be drawn, but the benefits, Patrick, and I'd like to go through those very quickly, are why the commitment is there and why Ugandans should be quite positive.
Let me read a few comments here. I think I should also. Somebody is saying, hello, Mr. Kamara, thank you for the show. Greetings to the most celebrated sports pundits of Uganda in your studio. I'm happy about the opportunity to have Uganda co-host AFCON. However, I have some reservations, even some of the basic things. For instance, there is a huge mountain of rubbish close to Mandela National Stadium along the railway line. Please pass on my concern to the officers responsible. Otherwise, I wish Team Pamoja the best towards this noble cause. Anne in Kirinya. Thank you so much, Anne. You saw that? Heap of garbage. Yeah. Uganda hosting of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, promises economic growth, tourism promotion, infrastructure development, and global visibility. Wholehearted support is vital for its success, encompassing community engagement, infrastructure investment, promotion, security, and sustainability to maximize the benefits and opportunities it offers. Unfortunately, I didn't put your name, but I thank you so much. Let me take two more, maybe. I'm very happy that Uganda has been given the opportunity to host AFCON. However, I'm wondering how we are not going to get embarrassed. Because of our pathetic infrastructure, roads are horrible. We depend on only road transport. Our hospitals are sick themselves. Our stadiums are so ugly with unreliable electricity. And we don't even have 5-star or 4-star hotels. Kampala looks like a hellhole. We are a disaster. And I don't know how we even won that bid. I hope we don't embarrass ourselves. Imran in Muyanga. Imran, your language can be beautiful even when you're talking funny stuff. Imran, you're another one. Hi, Patrick. I want to thank you dearly for breaking the monotony of failed politics. Now to the gurus. I personally don't fancy Magogo and his methods, but maybe I'm wrong. How much of this success is a consequence of the works at Fufu House in Mengo? But really, just give him credit, Magogo, even though you don't like the guy. Francis Mugoya here. My greetings to Ismail. Thank you for hosting. I love the combination of Ismail and Mac. Well, we have the bid accepted. I think the work just starts now. Facilities, logistics, football on the pitch, branding, and above all, good administration. Thank you, Francis. We are so blessed to host one of the iconic footballing events in our land. Viva Uganda, Viva Ismail, Viva Ssali, Derek Bwarisa from Umbale. Nobody is saying Viva to me. You mean, am I not, coming close to these gurus? The government of Uganda should forego the other projects and focus on the renovation and construction of our stadium so that we will not be ashamed. I'm not going to read any more messages, and I'm going to ask these pundits or the gurus that have called you, and I think you are, to make your concluding remarks. Let me begin with you, Ismail.
Ugandans have been so hurt on multiple occasions that the wounds and scars we bear from the promises made by our leaders are so many that sometimes we feel they will never heal. That even every single promise made to us seems like something that we cannot achieve. I've personally, over time in this job as a sports journalist, listed the challenges of sports and spread them out in just 4 areas: infrastructure, funding, administration, and society as a whole, because I don't believe our society appreciates sport as much as it should. An AFCON tournament like this one gives us a chance to tackle all the 4. Infrastructure, because we're going to build a stadium. There will be more funding for sport.
And the roads and the hotels and
and all the other things. And then there's going to be better administration, because there's going to be more eyes on what we are doing. And then society, many of us who are fathers or children or mothers will have our children who are attracted to the tournament. And that is going to change the way we perceive sport in this country. But finally, from most of the things that Patrick has read and some of the stuff I've seen, is that we need to define what a national interest is. What I see with this AFCON it's the first time maybe we have something that is definitive as a national interest. When a road is built because of a presidential pledge from Soroti through Amoria to Moroto, it may not have an effect on someone in Kabale because they may never travel to Amoria in their lives. But I sense most of the people, because of the apathy, look at these as personal. That's why the discussion is going to involve a lot of what Moses Magogo as a person is, because people may view that as a selfish interest. But what he has defined is has created what it might be a personal interest to become a national interest. And if you view this as a national interest, then surely Pamoja should have your backing.
Pamoja, your parting shot.
My parting shot is that, look, the cynicism that we might have in society, and there's a lot of it, although it's not from everybody, so you can't accuse everybody of it, and the skepticism as well, because I mean, it can be skepticism and it descends into cynicism. It cannot be dismissed, cannot be ignored. It comes from somewhere. My plea, personally, and which is the mindset that I have, is that rather than look at our challenges and our weaknesses here, let us look at the opportunity and grab it by two hands. There's an opportunity for us to put sport on top of the agenda in this country. And I have long willed for that to be. Because when we talk about countries like ours, which are not industrial, which are not manufacturers, we talk about resources. What we sell is resources. But mostly, people have been thinking about oil, about the minerals in the soil,
about coffee,
about coffee, about what we have in our fresh waters, and ignored human resource. It is the power that we have in this country. We have a youthful population, a very youthful population, one of the youngest in the world, that needs opportunities, because we are looking for them. And sport can be on the top of the agenda of solving the demographic challenge we have. We have an opportunity here to interest our young people, all our young people, in sport and its benefits using this AFCON over the next 5 years. We have an opportunity as well to get infrastructure in place in time, which infrastructure will outlive this tournament and us. Let's grab that opportunity. We have the opportunity to open up our country to the world in a way that we haven't. Cameras, the media of the world is going to descend on us, and we're going to be live for a very long time. We've never had that kind of opportunity.
A month almost.
Yeah, so the opportunity we have is to sell the beauty of our country, the beauty of our sport, because it even goes beyond football. People can then know that we have Cheptegeis, and we used to have John Beast Mugabes and those things, and that we have basketball people and rugby people as well. We have the opportunity to sell that. We have the opportunity to sell everything else that's beautiful about our country.
All right.
Using this. And the amount of money that will come into this country will not only be restricted to that 1 month when the tournament is here and the visitors are coming in, but to the fact that we are going to hook them up so they will continue to come. And even those who will not come for the tournament will see on TV what we have to offer and come. The benefits are very difficult to put in numbers right now, both of the infrastructure as well as in the amount of money that can come into our economy to boost it. Let us do the right things between now and then. And rather than keep mourning about our weaknesses and our challenges, let us put to task the people who are meant to actually make this happen in 2027, to actually do it. Rather than, I prefer, rather than you tell me how bad I am, I prefer that you dare me. That is the attitude I want to sell to Ugandans.
All right.
Let's dare those that be to actually get this done.
Mark Ssali and Ismail, Dhakaba, Kigongo, gentlemen, you've been phenomenal. I know, of course, you are just in your element.
Yes, yeah.
I could see the messages coming in, and
Yes.
I think you've done so well, because I've enjoyed the discussion, learning from you and hearing from you, because this is an area that you're so passionate about and you know so well. I want to thank you, the viewer, for the privilege of your company from the time we began, and you're still there. I think it's better to end by congratulating ourselves, congratulating the leaders of East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania for bringing AFCON to home. Bringing it to East Africa is a big deal. So I must say, hongera sana Kenya, hongera wenzi wetu wa Tanzania, hongera Uganda, hongera kwa ujumla Afrika Mashariki. Shukran, and that's where we end. Good night and God bless Uganda.